Hello listeners, Mark here with another SLP short. On this edition, I'll have York City Knights media manager Gavin Wilson on the phone. As most of you will have realised, York have been one of the real good news stories in British Rugby League this year, amid clubs in the heartlands of West Yorkshire and Cumbria facing real threats of winding up. So we wanted to hear from the York Club about how they're going about things differently after their own difficulties only as far back as 2016. Right, welcome Gavin to the Super League pod. It's great to have you on for this latest edition of an SLP short where we're going to talk about the great successes that are going on at the York City Knights in celebrating the 150th year of Rugby League in York. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for joining us. I don't want to bring back too many bad memories whilst you're flying on the crest of a wave this year, but I want to start this chat by building the narrative a little bit, because last time SLP spoke about York as much as we have done this year, it was a very different situation for the club. Back in July 2016, 2 years ago, we were basically told the club was going out of existence, it was going to fold. The move out of Huntingdon into Bootham Crescent via some other grounds as well was cited as one of the major reasons for the financial difficulties at the time. So what I was kind of wanting to start with was how have we got from there, where you were averaging around 500 fans at a game, to now where you're averaging over 1,500 at a game?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been quite a journey really, and yeah, like you say, it was 2 years ago, this time 2 years ago, that it really started to hit home. I think that year, that entire season was a struggle really, 2016, because the Knights were just nomadic all through the year. The previous owner had fallen out with the council and the football club, and they had nowhere to play. They ended up playing on the rugby union pitch, and they ended up playing at Keworth, the local amateur club, and even a couple of games at Featherstone. So obviously the fans became a bit disillusioned with that and having to travel all over and not really having the facilities that you would expect to be a semi-professional club. But then finally, thankfully, I mean, it culminated. Fordy got the squad through and got to a playoff game away at Toulouse, but sadly they only managed to take 13 players, which was kind of a real wake-up call. But finally, thankfully, in that off-season, the previous owner managed to find a new consortium led by John Flatman, who's currently here now, and he's just been an absolute breath of fresh air in the club, really. It's just like working for a completely different club, to be honest. He immediately ran around. I mean, he was on the back foot for last season, 2017.
Yeah, because the
first action he did was sign Fordy up to a 3-year deal, who, as one of the best young British coaches in the game, was massive, really. And it was nice to repay Fordy back for the faith that he'd shown in the club, really, and stuck it out. And then from there onwards, I mean, Fordy got a team put together very quickly. A couple of York-born local lads out the amateur game, and kind of just everyone else's scraps, really. So, and they didn't get a full pre-season because they didn't start training until January, because I mean they weren't even in the fixture list till before then.
No, exactly. It was late in the day, weren't it? That they was confirmed they were going to be playing in 2017. I feel like the change that all builds into when the changes came about. But for me, the move to what the positive feeling now about York probably started with that Toronto game, didn't it, last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I would certainly go along with that. I mean, like throughout the full year, like I said, they'd signed cast-offs and amateur lads, and they were on the back foot without a full pre-season. It took quite a while to get going. I mean, there was a very close game against South Wales at the start of the season. We got beat down at Oxford and that kind of thing, and it took time for the team to gel. But once we managed to qualify for the top 8, the Super 8s in League One, as it was last year, it's different this year, but it's we got in that top 8, and then the first home game we had was Toronto, and me and John, we sat down and we had a chat about it, and we said, well, let's really try and make this an event, like, because the York public were starting to come back, but I think it was that one that really piqued their interest. Obviously with Toronto being a brand new team, they were a bit, I don't know, exotic, I suppose, could be the word. They were a real unknown quantity, and for the York public, it was cool to see a professional team from Canada come and play at Bootham Crescent. So, yeah, we had a massive crowd for that, and on the back of that, the players really lifted, and it was a phenomenal performance. Great day. Liam Harris was outstanding that day. He was obviously now playing in Super League at Hull. He just really took the reins, and it was just brilliant. It really kind of hit home how far we've come. And yeah, we've just kept trying to be bouncing off the back of that, really.
So on the field, things are going really well this year. There was only really the Bradford game that didn't go the way you would have wanted it to. But what I want to speak to you most about, Gav, is the off the field stuff, really, because there's been some great initiatives from the club this year. There was a big push, wasn't there, for the big name draw matches of Bradford and Catalan, and huge crowds of over 4,000 and over 3,000 for those respectively. There was the 45ers, there was the linking with the Pride celebrations, the free ice lollies recently, and even most recently the retro round against Doncaster. I've probably missed some of the things you've done as well. It feels like you've been so present on social media with things. How have those ideas come about?
Well, I think, to be honest, you said you might have missed a few, but I think you pretty much named almost all of them there. To be honest, we were very lucky that the fixture computer gave us Bradford Bulls at Booble Crescent in round one. We couldn't have really wished for a better, bigger game to really kick-start the season. Bradford had their first settled off-season in what feels like maybe 10 years. And their fans were starting to feel a bit more positive. There was no points deductions, no administration, nothing to worry about. And they'd got a decent squad together. So they brought a lot of fans over with them, and we put a lot into that first game to really kickstart the season. We were repaid really well with a crowd of over 4,000, and it was a brilliant day. The game itself lived up to it as well. I mean, like the Toronto game last year, it's rare that you hype a game up so much and then it delivers on the field. It kind of tends to be a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
But that game, the Toronto game, the Bradford game, and then even the Catalan Dragons Cup game, we all put a lot of limited resources into it, but what we had, we put into it. And we were rewarded with 3 fantastic games in front of 3 massive crowds. So,
and in front of like a wider audience through the streaming and the television coverage and that sort of stuff, which will have been fantastic.
I think he said there was 50 or 60,000 that streamed that at the end of the day on iPlayer. So, massively to a wider audience. And obviously, we're just trying to build off the back of that. I mean, it was the 45ers, we handed them out at the end of the Catalans game. So a big crowd managed to get a £5 voucher off for the following game, and I think a couple of hundred of them did come back for the following game against West Wales the following week.
Yeah, and
with all due respect to West Wales, they're not the big crowd puller.
No, not the dream ticket draw. No, but you still got over 1,000 for that match, which shows how well it worked.
A lot came back, and I mean, as it was that day, they ended up seeing a world record score put past them. Right? I mean, it's not nice for West Wales, but I mean, from a marketing perspective, purely selfishly, it was brilliant for me because, I mean, with all the attraction, we got national media interest from that. It was just really cool, really. And then following on, like you mentioned, like the Pride and the Armed Forces days and the retro around this week, what we try and do with that is obviously because we've got limited resources, with such being a league with a semi-professional team and not much off the field.
Yeah.
It was just basically trying to make it a bit of an event out of each game, and make it feel like it was part of a wider picture, I suppose. We went out in the community with the foundation. The foundation does some brilliant work this year in the schools and in the community. There was a Pride march through the city centre the day before the Pride game, which Norris the Knight, our mascot, and a few players went and got involved with and handed out chocolate bars to the crowd and stuff. So. And then with the Armed Forces Day, we invited all the Armed Forces personnel in for free that could come and watch the match. And with York having Pulford Barracks and Strensall Barracks, and we've got an army base here, we do have quite a big Armed Forces community, so that was quite cool. And then this week, obviously, we just thought there's a lot of history between York and Doncaster, and a lot of players have swapped through between each one. And so we're celebrating 150 years off the field of the original York club being set up. We thought it'd be quite cool to just have a nod to that nostalgia and try and encourage the fans to come up in their old kits and the retro shirts that they might have kept in the loft. And it was really well received, and there was a lot of colour in the crowd, and we had the 80s mega mix going, and it was all brilliant, really. It was a good afternoon.
I saw a lot of the pictures on the Twitter feed and stuff of the fans getting involved in that, and the match day programme as well looked really cool. So you've done a lot of work into that sort of stuff.
And not to our friend, a lifelong York supporter, Simon Hall at All Design Printing, Hagsby. He's a graphic designer and printer, and he's been a season ticket holder since he was 5 or 6 years old. So he does brilliantly for us with all the design work on the posters and the matchday programmes, and he makes my job a lot easier as well. So it's a bit of a community effort with that one.
That's brilliant. I mean, it's all resulted in you only having, maybe the Swinton game was probably the only disappointing crowd all year, and I'm guessing that was when the weather was at its worst.
That was the beast from the east, and it had come back with a vengeance. The football club had a big game on the following Tuesday night, so we took and also we were running out of space in the calendar to get the game played before the following round. So we took the decision literally 24 hours before. Featherstone very kindly hosted us for that game, so we went over and played it at Featherstone.
But every crowd,
we still got over 700 there, so it was considering the home fans had to travel 30 miles. We did all right that day.
Every game at Bootham Crescent though has had over 900 on, hasn't it, this year?
Yeah, over 900 for every game. I think there's only been 2 that were below 1,000 as well.
And they were the London Scholars and the Hemel Stags.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that goes back to my earlier point. We try and target, because we have such limited resources, we try and pinpoint and target the games that we can and throw everything into them. We can't really do that for every single game. And with all due respect to Scholars and Hemel, they were brilliant clubs in their own right. It's a long way for them to come, and they probably might not bring as many fans as like a Doncaster or even Newcastle. So yeah, it's a tricky one, but it's just what we have to do as to get as many people through the gates with what we've got, really. So
have you found it really easy to pull these sort of stunts off that you've managed to pull off so far this year, or I'm guessing there's been a lot of work in it? Has there been any real obstacles? I'm just trying to get a sense of, you guys are doing it so well, how difficult would it be for other people to do the same thing is kind of what I'm thinking, Gav.
Well, that's in it. It's like Jeremy Clarkson's famous words, how hard can it be? What we basically do is we usually have a little get together like once a week and stuff. Me and John Flatman, the owner, and the general manager Neil Gulliver, who also does a brilliant job, and we just kind of throw a few ideas about, really, and see if there's anything coming up in the city centre that we can kind of tie into and get the community involved. Obviously, the community game's another big tie-in as well with Heworth and York Acorn and New Hayswick All Blacks in the city. We try and get all their juniors through, and kids under 16 come free anyway, so hopefully they bring their parents with them. But yeah, John gives me a lot of freedom, really. If he thinks I've got a good idea, he'll let me run with it and see how far I can take it. So he's a brilliant boss to work for. I really enjoy working for him, and I think it shows in the stuff we put out, how positive it is. Not just on the field but off it as well, and I think the fans can sense that.
No one's falling out with each other. Everyone's on the same page, and
exactly,
that's rare these days in League One.
Exactly, yeah, and it makes a massive difference when you have everyone pulling in the same direction. But yeah, really pleased with how it's going so far.
What else do you have planned for this year and the future? Because obviously, is it next year that you'll be looking to move into the new ground? The work seems to be moving on a pace every time I see a new picture.
It's all on track and on budget, and all being well, by this time next year, by July, we will be in that new ground. So we're getting things in the pipeline at the minute, starting to plan early for 2019. So we'll be seeing some of that stuff come out soon. We're having a big barbecue on the Tuesday the 24th of July that will be inviting all the fans along to come and sign up for new tickets in the new stadium, and get their names down early, and all the players will be there from both the men's and women's squads, serving burgers and hot dogs. So hopefully it'll be a good little evening, that, and just try and keep the interest there, keep the buzz going.
Yeah, of course. The ladies' side have got the Challenge Cup semi-finals to look forward to as well, haven't they? In the near future, you've got drawn away at Castleford, I think, if I remember right. But
yeah, they're having an interesting season so far. They only really properly formed last year and were incorporated into the Knights brand, and then this year they made the big step up 2 levels to Super League, and they've struggled in a couple of games, but they get better every game. They've brought a lot of new girls down. We've got great links to York St John University as well, and some of their girls have been coming down. So yeah, they're going great off the field, and they're developing all the time. So we've even had a couple of curtain raisers with them as well, and they've been on the pitch before our game, before our boys. So yeah, they're going well, and good luck to them.
That helps with the brand exposure as well, doesn't it? Because, you know, I'm a Wigan Warriors fan. I'll be looking out for results that involve the York City Knights because I'm looking at our women's schedule. Now, the York women, like you say, they've been possibly